Is Jonas Vingegaard in the best shape he has ever been?
No.
Will Ineos Grenadiers be able to have an important role in the upcoming Tour de France?
Yes.
Does Team DSM have the potential to fight for a top 5 GC spot in a Grand Tour in the near future?
Yes.
Is caring about riders' safety childish?
Definitely
I've
not.
got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
The yellow jersey in the Tour de France, the summum for a Grand Tour cyclist. The past week we were able to witness that beautiful jersey, although not in the Tour. Yet. With Jonas Vingegaard demolishing the field in the Dauphiné, questions arise if someone is able to compete against the Dane. A certain Slovenian, Tadej Pogacar, would love to get his revenge after last year, but is he recovered fast enough after an injury? You can tell, we are hyped for what's coming. It's time to review the last preparation races. We have another new composition on Domestique Cycling Podcast. Due to illness, Hans wasn't able to join today's recording of the episode. We wish him a speedy recovery. I will take over the task as host and will try to fill in his big shoes as good as possible. I'm here together with Dieter, our data analyst and a regular podcast guest. Welcome, Dieter.
Thank you. Hello.
As you're still a student, you're in one of the most toughest weeks of the year. Exams. Tell me, how are you coping with the huge amounts of knowledge you need to pump in your head?
Today was a pretty tough exam, but the first two were pretty easy, to be honest. So it's going all right.
Nothing better than talk about cycling to relax a little bit? Let's dive right into this racing week's review. We're starting off with the third stage in the Dauphiné. It's another sprint victory for Christophe Laporte in a bunch sprint. It's his second win in 3 stages, and he was able to beat Bennett and Groenewegen fair and square. There was a relegation for Groenewegen and Bennett after that sprint. Was that relegation deserved?
Definitely. First, Bennett started at the left side of the road and ended up completely on the right. And Groenewegen delivered an unnecessary elbow to, I forgot who it was, but it was very unnecessary. It was against Pogacar, I think.
Yeah,
and it was luckily that the guy was a mountain biker before, because he had amazing bike handling skills. Otherwise, almost the whole peloton would have crashed.
Yeah, it was very impressive how Pogacar was able to stay on his bike. It was a half a miracle that he didn't crash. If that thing with Bennett didn't and Groenewegen didn't happen, would the outcome of the stage be different?
Yeah, I think so. Like, deserved victory for Laporte. He did nothing wrong, but he really isn't the fastest on the flat sprint, and I don't think he would have won if Bennett and Groenewegen didn't do their crazy stuff. And I think Pogacar actually would have had a chance to win completely out of the blue, because if you look back at the images, but that's guessing, of course, but he had a lot of speed. So it's a pity that we didn't see how far he could have come in that sprint.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I was quite impressed with Laporte, because I didn't expect him to be that fast on a flat finish. He has quite a fast kick, but I had the feeling he worked towards the Tour de France and he improved his speed. Am I wrong?
I think it looks better than it is because of he's very fast. Don't get me wrong, but he's like, I don't think he's faster than last year.
Yeah. All right. There isn't only one Dane that's flying. There are 2. It's a first pro win for Mikkel Bjerg after his amazing performance in the individual time trial stage 4 in the Dauphiné. I have to say it was really impressive the way he rode that time trial, and he was able to win it against some strong competitors. Did you expect Bjerg to be that strong?
I expect. I know that Bjerg had a huge potential, but I didn't expect him to win that time trial. It's great to see because I thought Vingegaard was going to destroy everyone. To be honest, it was a hilly course. I thought literally that he would win with like half a minute, but Bjerg was really strong. A lot of altitude meters. He said himself that he thought it was too hilly for him, but like the last climb, it was so impressive, and he just stayed in this TT position of the climb. Also very important, but very hard to do. Was very impressive.
Vingegaard was shoulders above the other GC contenders. When you look at everyone who's lining up at the Tour de France, who has the best time trial?
Oh, specific on the Tour de France
in the
time
Tour
trial
de France
or in
time
general?
trial.
That'll be a fun one to watch. I think
Who will
Vingegaard.
have the most confidence going into that time trial?
Also Vingegaard. I think.
That's interesting because we saw the first Tour de France. It was, of course, a completely different time trial, but Pogacar demolishing Roglic on the uphill. But Pogacar is known as a very good time trialist himself. I rated Vingegaard always a little bit lower. I don't know why. But he is proving me once again that he's very strong against the clock.
I think the time trial is pretty deep into the Tour, and I just think Vingegaard will be better in general than Pogacar, so that he'll also win the time trial because there's pretty nasty climb in it. It's not to be underrated.
Maybe a small little fact from that time trial. Do you remember who was last at the stage results of that day? In the time trial.
I thought it was.
No, we talked about it in the group chat, and we said, "Well, why?" It's Victor Kampenaerts.
Yeah.
And
now I remember.
You know the reason behind
yeah.
it.
Yeah, he didn't train on his TT bike since he broke his back. Yeah, that's not strange because that's not a position you want to be in after you broke your back. So yeah, but he was very strong. But we'll come to that later.
Let's move over to the first demonstration of Jonas Vingegaard in stage 5. He actually just followed an attack of Carapaz, and he wanted to take a turn at the front to establish a gap and to make it difficult for the chasers. And guess what? He casually dropped the Ecuadorian. Legs must have been good that day.
Yeah, indeed. And after he won the stage, he said that he didn't want to attack, but that Carapaz made him attack, so that was pretty funny. But like Carapaz blew up so hard that he even got dropped in the group behind, so he completely blew up.
Yeah, it was actually, first of all, impressive to see Carapaz did 2 or 3 digs and quite hard efforts, and that way Alaphilippe exploded. Or just said, I'm not following and I'm gonna drop back to the chasing group. And Vingegaard followed pretty easily. But then Carapaz just completely exploded and went through the back door. Vingegaard won that stage, but it's mainly because there was no cooperation in the group behind neither. You don't agree with that?
I think there's always no cooperation in the group that big, but I think like you had to ride very hard if you wanted to catch Vingegaard in TT style.
He had a 30-second gap at the finish line, if I recall correctly. But I had the feeling if that chasing group, I think there were 15 or 20 riders still left in that group, if they would close together a little bit, it would have been difficult for Vingegaard because it was downhill as well.
He didn't take risks with the eye on the Tour,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, that's true.
Several riders who aim for the Tour are or were underperforming in the Dauphiné. There were a lot of riders who came to the Dauphiné as a last test before the Tour de France. And we have to be honest, there were a lot of extra question marks instead of question marks removed.
That's true.
And who's the biggest disappointment for you? One name, not a list of 10 names. One name that's the biggest disappointment for you.
I don't think this will be a popular name, but Daniel Felipe Martinez, because I have so much faith in the rider he is. I think he has, like, outside of the three best climbers, I think you can say Remco, Vingegaard and Pogacar, he has the best shot out of every other GC rider to come close to that, but they just can't seem to fulfill that potential that he has. I don't know what's wrong with him. The last 1.5 years, like, he did get a bit better in Dauphiné, but I just don't understand. In Algarve, he was bad in the mountains, but he won the TT as a pretty light rider, so he was strong. I just don't understand what's wrong with Martinez at the moment.
He's in his last contract year as well, so his contract is approaching the end at Ineos. Does Ineos want him still in the team, or will he go to an education first, for example?
Maybe it doesn't seem to work anymore, so maybe a new environment can do him good and will get him on his level again. So it's hard to say because we don't know what's going on. So yeah.
You said at the beginning of the podcast, when I asked if Ineos could play a key role in the Tour de France, that you believed in that. Who will be their man, their GC man, after this rather disappointing Dauphiné for them?
I think Carlos Rodriguez. Like we saw today that Egan Bernal is rode some Tour de France stages on training, so it seems like that he's going to ride. That would be pretty amazing to see too. But I think that Carlos Rodriguez has the best chance from Ineos, or Daniel Felipe Martinez has to suddenly get to his top shape. That doesn't seem likely. And Egan Bernal, I think he can get a solid GC, like a far top 10 maybe. But I don't think that he'll already be at the level to fight with the Vingegaard, for example.
Is there someone able to fight against the Vingegaard except Pogacar?
Not even Pogacar.
Oof, that's bold. But what about Pidcock? He's riding Tour de Suisse, I know, but he said multiple times he's ready to go for a general classification and a Grand Tour. Will he try in 3 weeks?
Yeah, first he needs to improve his TT then, because he was 49th in the TT and he was happy with the result. And I saw his TT position and I thought, like, you can easily improve that. Like, so just do some work in the winter, because that's a first very important step for a GC rider. And even if his TT is good, I don't think he has it in him yet to really do good in GC. I don't know what you think about that.
I had a chat with Hannes about it, about what should Ineos do in the Tour de France. I'm a strong believer of Egan Bernal. I hope he reaches his best level yet and even becomes a little bit better than he was, because that's needed to be able to compete against the Vingegaard and the Pogacar. But we have to be realistic, and we can't expect Bernal to fight for a podium or a top 5. A low top 10 would be a victory for him and certainly for everybody who supports him. And then We saw Martinez underperforming. Carlos Rodriguez started off the Dauphiné quite mwah, but grew a little bit into it. So Hannes says it's gonna be GC Pidcock, but I don't know if Ineos should go for GC. They should go rogue and just go for it. What Ineos can be happy with the top 5. It's a team with a history of winning the Tour de France, and that team doesn't need to be happy with the top 5. So why not go for multiple stage wins? They have the team for it, but they will not do that because Brailsford isn't like that. He always wants to go for GC.
Yep.
But I would go stage hunting if I was Ineos.
I would, I saw G in the Tour de France Unchained Netflix documentary. I saw G saying that the sole reason why Ineos sponsors Ineos is because they want to win the Tour de France, and they haven't done that in 3 years now, I think. And the 3 years before that they did. So it's really important that they get a very good result.
I'm gonna be quite rude. If they want to win a Tour de France again, it's almost impossible with the squad they have now.
Yep, true.
They need to buy an Evenepoel, or maybe an unhappy Ayuso when the time comes and he wants to go for the Tour de France himself. You never know, because Pogacar isn't old neither, so Ayuso might be unhappy.
Never thought. That's a good one. I never thought about that. I think if I am Ayuso, I want to go for the Tour next, but he has a contract until 2028, doesn't he?
Yeah, 27, I think. But it's Ayuso is 19 or 20. Pogacar is 25 this year. So Pogacar might go for the record or trying to beat that Tour de France record. And Ayuso wants to go to the Tour de France. If it isn't this year, it will be next year or maybe the year after. But that will be late for him because he has the raw talent to go for that as well. And he has a good time trial.
Very curious to see what Ayuso can do in his Tour de Suisse 2 against Remco. That's already also very interesting.
Let's move over to the 6th stage in the Dauphiné. A sprint à deux, Bourgodeau against Zimmermann. It was a hard and tense fight till the line. And I have to say, it was one of the nicest finishes of this year's Dauphiné.
You thought that Bourgodeau was going to overtake Zimmermann, but Zimmermann just found another little bit left in the tank, just until death to the finish line. Was great to see.
Do we have a new nominee for the most painful pain face?
Yeah, exactly.
Can we put him in the line together? Can we put him in the line together with Veuclair, à la Philippe?
Yeah, I think so too. It's not the first time that I have that I've seen Zimmermann pulling a pain face like that. So, and I don't think it was the last time that we saw it.
Vingegaard wanted to play a little bit, but it wasn't hard enough, and the whole group stayed together. Anything you want to add for the 6th stage?
Don't think so.
All right, let's move over to the 7th stage. It's the first stage of the last weekend. A very hard stage, a lot of mountains. And I wrote one name down, and it's Jonas Vingegaard.
The other riders thought like that too, I think, when he attacked. They didn't even try. They thought no, I'm a blew up if I follow that, so let him ride.
Yeah, it's becoming quite a boring Dauphiné review. I didn't count the times I said the name Vingegaard, but I said it a lot already. What do you think about Yates? He showed he's in on quite a good level. Is he ready to stay together? Well, you don't believe in Pogacar being ready, but Pogacar will be second in the Tour de France, right?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, all right. So UAE is performing very strong with Bjerg, showing he's ready. Yates as well. Can they compete with a Jumbo?
I think so. Like a couple of years ago, like 2-3 years ago, we need to be honest. The first time Pogacar won the Tour, the squad was horrible. There were crosswinds. One time Pogacar was dropped because he didn't have a team to position him. But UE really built that squad, and if UE brings their best squad to the Tour, it might even be a little bit better than Jumbo squad.
You mentioned already a couple of times Pogacar might not match Vingegaard. How can he try to match the Dane? What can he do to fight for it? Because that first days are already quite tough in Spain.
Take every opportunity. I think he's more explosive than Vingegaard. So take all the bonification seconds you can, because Vingegaard is just the better climber, I think. So yeah, you need to find another way. Like take every possible way to gain seconds. Roglic already won that Vuelta against Carapaz solely on bonification seconds. If it wasn't for the bonification seconds, Carapaz would have won. So I would go for a strategy like that if I was Pogacar.
So Pogacar should go all out in the opening weekend because it's quite steep hills and it not really are long mountains. So he already has to make war there.
Yeah, exactly. If maybe he can even get a gap on Vingegaard. Vingegaard has clearly been working on his explosivity, like last year on Planche Belfi, for example. That definitely wasn't a bad sprint, but maybe if Pogacar really goes all out, he can drop Vingegaard and get like a handful of seconds together with the bonification seconds, and those are very valuable seconds. So
who will be third in the Tour de France? One name.
Jai Hindley.
Jai Hindley. That's interesting. It was a name I had in my mind as well, because he had a strong 8th stage, and he was quite strong in the 7th stage as well. The 8th stage was won by Giulio Ciccone. He was the strongest of the break. It was actually quite a strong break up the road with Alaphilippe in there as well, Tish Benoit as well.
Yeah.
And Ciccone was able to hold off. I'm not going to mention his name once again. A certain Dane. Ciccone is going to the Tour, right?
Yes.
He was scheduled to go to the Giro, but he had COVID, if I recall correctly. So now he's ready for the Tour. What can he do?
That he was mighty strong. Like he had the 4th time out of everyone on the last climb. So like if he out of the early break, he set the 4th time in the peloton. That's great. He was so strong. I thought Vingegaard is easily going to overtake him, but he just barely lost seconds on Vingegaard. Very impressive, very high level.
If you would be Ciccone, what would you do in this year's Tour? Would you try and stick for the top 5, or go for the polka dot jersey, or stage wins?
Polka dot and stage wins.
Yeah, I would. I have the same opinion. Like he would, in the span of 3 weeks, he might have 1 or 2 bad days that makes him, not ready for a general classification. And I like him too much when he wants to attack. He's more of an offensive style rider. and I don't want him to just follow wheels and wait till the line.
We saw it this Dauphiné too. Like Saturday, I think he definitely wasn't very good, and the day after, he rides the fourth climbing time on the last climb. So like he's, like you say, he's not consistent. So don't go for GC and go for state sprints and polka dot. But I think he, that's also the plan for him.
That was a review of the Dauphiné. I want you to say one guy you say, damn, he impressed me, and it can't be Vingegaard. And your biggest disappointment, you already mentioned Martinez, but I would like to mention Mika Landa as well, just because it's Landa and it's another disappointment. I'm a Landismo fan. I like the guy, but no GC ambitions for him, and he should go for the polka dot as well. Who's your biggest surprise of the Dauphiné?
Ben O'Connor, and then especially not in GC, but in the time trial, like the time trial equipment from AG2R definitely isn't good, and he got fifth on not a lot of seconds. Very impressive. If you said that to me before the time trial, I would have said, yeah, you're crazy. I think that's underrated how strong he was in the time trial, and he's the only one. Was the fastest, I mean, from the GC guys, I think, on the last climb here.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Dauphiné done. Let's move over to Dwars door het Gageland. The comeback of the GOAT, the best rider on the planet, Mathieu van der Poel. Sorry, Wout van Aert fans. Sorry, Hannes. Sorry, Bram. But it's Van der Poel. But he didn't win. It was a fight, Alpecin against Quickstep, and a mechanical for Van der Poel made it impossible for him to come back to the front because Quickstep didn't want him to.
Yeah, and like I also think it wasn't the best Van der Poel. He was in horrible weather on Sierra Nevada, I think. He just got back, and I directly jumped into Dwars door het Hageland, but directly from like 10 degrees to, what was it, 32 degrees, that's a shock to the body. So it's already crazy that he rode at the level he did, because if we saw the best Van der Poel, he would have jumped to Tiller and Co on Grasbos. I'm 99% sure of that.
Yeah, but we saw Quickstep as well trying to make it as hard as possible for Van der Poel to come back, and it's their right to do that because Van der Poel was the big favorite for that race. But I remember Wielervoorspellingen on Twitter. He always shares his stars before the races, and he gave his 3 stars, I think, to Van der Poel. And he said Van der Poel isn't losing this one. And a certain Rasmus Tiller quote tweeted that and said, let's try to make it hard for them the day before. So that's quite impressive to see then. Yeah, that's quite impressive. Tiller performs very strong as a Norwegian in very hot temperatures. That's quite impressive as well for me.
Yeah, he said in the interview after the stage that he was pretty lucky that he had 25 degrees in the 2 weeks before Dwars door het Hageland, because like otherwise the same with Van der Poel, if you come out of a 10 degrees Norway with rain, you barely can't win a race in 30 degrees. It's just such a big shock to the body. You need to acclimate.
I would like to give a special mention to Stan van Tricht as well, who showed he's really performing on a high level and he keeps on growing.
Last year too in Dwars door het Hageland, very impressive. And I want to give a special mention then to Timo Kilich. I thought he was going to win.
Yeah.
He looked very strong the whole race, but then got a flat on Grasbos and his tire was completely off his wheel. So it's a pity he got back in no time to the group. but then Van der Poel also got back, so he needed to work, and he rode a lot of kilometers on the at the lead of the peloton after coming back so fast. So that was very impressive. It was a pity that he punctured.
Yeah, Kielig is actually having a very good road season. I particularly know him from cyclocross, where he was seen as a very big talent, but now he proves he very strong on the road as well. So kudos to him. Yesterday it was the first stage in Tour de Suisse. Van Aert came back in competition. Evenepoel came back in competition after his COVID infection in the Giro. But neither of the two were able to grab the win, as Stefan Kung got his well-deserved win. I'm very happy for Kung in his home country, beating a Van Aert, an Evenepoel. He will be pleased with that.
Definitely. I thought that before the race, I thought that Van Aert would win with quite a good margin, to be honest. He came from altitude. Remco had to stay 10 days off his bike after the Giro. So it's mightily impressive that he got on this level in such a short notice. I thought the biggest competitor would be Stefan Bissegger, as he's just a beast on the bike. But I didn't expect Koen to beat all those names in a good shape here, to be honest. And he also rode half a Giro, Koen. So that's also after a full classic season. So very impressive for Koen.
In the second stage today, Eritrea went loco. Girmay beating Van Aert. Very impressive from Girmay, because he didn't really perform very well this season. We're the 12th of June right now, and we didn't see a lot of him yet. But he shows he's ready for the Tour de France.
Was also due to he really can't handle bad weather, and it was bad weather in the whole classic season. And about the sprint today, Wout launched too early, and that way he bid to win. But Girmay didn't launch that much later. He launched at about the same time, but at the left side of the road. More at the left side, not all to the left, but very, very impressive sprint, to be honest. First, I thought he was a bit lucky to win, but then I saw the sprint again, and it was just mightily strong, to be honest.
Yeah, he will be confident for the Tour.
Definitely, because he had a bad crash. I don't recall. Was it Schoonraven?
Didn't he crash in Liège? I don't remember anymore. But
he didn't train for very long. He said less than 2 months. So the level the level he got here already is pretty crazy. Yeah, it's Ronald van Vlaanderen. He had to stay off the bikes for 2 weeks. And even after that, he couldn't train properly because he had a lot of problems. He was training like he should for 1.5 months. He said that's not long. That's really not long. So crazy level already from him. Also in the Brussels Cycling Classic, by the way.
Yeah, it will boost his confidence. I have Definitely. 2 small topics remaining. Let's start with the ZLM Tour. It's the first pro win for Tour de Titema Unibet team.
That was great to see. Jentel van der Velde in the early break, and he didn't steal the win because the peloton was really getting close, and he didn't dare to wait until the finish line because also a group isn't cooperating good then because everyone wants to have fresh legs for the win. So he just attacked with 2 kilometers to go, and he just held off Konishev, and the peloton was just a few seconds behind. So very impressive.
Yeah, it was nice to see that win because Tour de Titema Unibet is very active on social media. So it's really nice to see the insight of that team and what it meant to them, that first pro win. Yeah, it tastes... I want to see more of that because Martin Budding is sprinting very strong as well. Joren Bloem, and I think they were second in the team classifications at the end of the ZLM Tour. So it's a .pro race, if I recall correctly, so they will be very pleased.
And Hartijs de Vries, top 10 in GC, and crazy the level he performs on. He had a very, very bad crash on a training camp, if I recall correctly, in January or February, and he had to stay with the bikes for a long time because he was even on intensive care, and on I think 2 months of the bike, and after 1.5 months of training in his first races back, he was already on the level to compete for the win. Then you need to be a very big talent to do that. That's crazy.
And the last topic, and to be honest, I don't really want to talk about it, so we're gonna keep this really short because it's just, sorry for the word, utter bullshit that we have to mention this. But in the CEC Tour Féminin International des Pyrénées, the riders decided to not participate anymore in the third stage because there were a lot of safety concerns. There were cars on the roads. There were unsafe things happening. And they decided to withdraw out of it, starting with Jumbo-Visma, if I recall correctly. They were the first team. But the most... sorry for the words again, I'm not going to say it, but that race organizer should never be able to organize a race again.
Yeah. Just because women don't ride as fast as men, or because they are not riding in the Tour de France at the moment, doesn't mean they deserve to die in a race. Like even all the small kermis races here in Belgium, where like even if they have 50 participants or less, the roads are closed. How can you not close the roads for a pro peloton with descents where they are going 80, 90 kilometers an hour, and then to say that they are childs because they don't want to race? UCI need to take the license from that race organizer away or something. That's just crazy.
I have nothing more to add to that topic, and nothing more to add to this podcast. I don't know if you want to add something.
No, that's it.
All right, that's a wrap for today's Domestique Cycling Podcast. A big thank you to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi, the link in description, or subscribe on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.
Bye-bye.
I've got the spores, the sickness. There's be twins in my brain.